Welcome to Integrated Insights with ICCG. For more than 30 years, our team has partnered with small business owners to prepare for and navigate the business transaction process. Pull up a chair as we share stories and insights from our experience on all sides of the M&A table.
All right, well, welcome back, guys. I'm excited to be here. I haven't hosted in a while. So my name is Andrew. I am your host today. I've got Dave and Grant, principals of ICCG, joining us. And hey, guys, how you doing?
Great. Good. How are you doing, Andrew?
Feeling great.
We're feeling. And Andrew, there might be a reason you haven't hosted for a while. I don't know.
I know. I would say the same. So I've been actually told I need to get better at hosting.
Yeah, you're good.
Case in point. Here we go. Good intro. Well, all right. So today we're going to talk about feelings, right? We're going to talk about emotions, and so we decided the three of us are the right people to talk about emotions, right? So
absolutely.
Here we go. Well, many intermediaries get tunnel vision, right, in doing deals, because that's our normal day to day, and so, but for our clients, this is the most. Probably the most or the biggest transaction that they will ever do. And so most of them, it's their first time selling their business. We haven't owned their business for 30 years. They have. And we have not employed the same people or for their people for 20 years. They have. And so the emotions that come up with our clients are big and real, and they feed into how the deal works. And so, Grant, Dave, you guys have owned your businesses long term and then sold them. And so I'll go ahead and start asking you guys, what emotions have you encountered during the process of selling your businesses?
Yeah, probably, Dave, full disclosure, I had a guy, I won't throw my wife under the bus, but I had somebody one time put a feelings wheel in front of me. So I don't think Dave and I are huge feelers, but you're exactly right. There are lots of emotions that drive decisions at the last minute. And so it's important that we talk about it.
Yeah, and just in case we get confused, I did, however, pull up a feelings wheel.
This is the guy that Grant's talking about. Yeah.
Shocked is one of the feelings, and I was shocked to find out that there must be 1,000 different ways to feel evidently. So
that's exactly right.
Other than just anxious and ticked off, I thought those were the only two feelings. Oh, and happy every once in a while. So, anyways, we have a big closing in a couple days from now, and so we're all a little stressed. And let's see, we're a little cheeky and powerful. I think powerful might be one right there. So, anyways, great. You're right though, and the feelings are big. And one thing I think we do with our clients is we walk them through the deals that we've closed for ourselves. Businesses that we've owned and sold. And it's really fun to kind of walk through and kind of help them. And most of them go, yeah, I'm not going to deal with that. And then we kind of follow up with them afterwards. And yeah, they are dealing with that. And it's a big deal, And so when they're typically people come in kind of excited about, hey, can I sell the business? But the more they think about what that looks like, when you say, Grant, that it kind of turns into like a lot of intrepidation and like, oh man, can I really do this? Because there's a lot to that, right?
Yeah, I think, principally what we do is and we've said this over and over, is we convert unknowns to knowns. And so whenever there's knowns, whenever there are answers, whenever we kind of help our clients anticipate something, the stress level goes down because they already know what's coming, right? And so whenever the stress level comes down, I would say the volatility of the emotions goes down, right? Stress kind of amplifies emotion. And so, in the process of a deal, you're, as a business owner, you're kind of walking on eggshells. Who's going to know? Who's going to find out? Am I negotiating this in a way that is best for the people that I love? Those kinds of things. you kind of go through this thing like you're separated from your employees because you're in the know, you're doing something that they're not. Whereas you were on the team in the past that was all for one for all. You're slammed, you have fatigue, all those kinds of things. So in the process of the transaction, you go through a little bit of a roller coaster. That's why, we like to prepare people for that journey.
Yeah. And I think also, afterwards, once it's closed, there's a lot of relief. There's also some grieving. I mean, they're not going to probably sit around, maybe shed a lot of tears, but especially if they have a big check. Although there's a lot that goes with it. Hey, I had a business owner tell me today, let's seriously put this on the market, but I want to make sure my people are taken care of. And that is always one of the things that comes up. So knowing that your people are taken care of can be a huge amount of relief. There can be a lot of satisfaction that, hey, you fulfilled something for your family, maybe financially for the future of your family. That's really good. But I think there's also another side of this. I was thinking about this earlier today, that there's also some humility, realizing that you're not the only one who can run your business. And that's a little bit of a shock at some point. And everyone goes into it thinking there is no one else, But there's some humility that comes after time when you realize that, hey, that business is going to run just fine without me. And then you kind of sit around going, now what do I do? Right. So.
Yeah, you go visit thinking that you're going to hear about all the problems and everybody's in good shape. It's like, wait a minute. Isn't it failing without my wisdom? I think, I remember one of the things we always tell our clients is that your relationships with your employees is going to change, and they never believe us, right? And so years ago, we had the owner of the company had a very key right-hand person who actually was all of their back end, their financial stuff. And I mean, the families were tight. And we kind of mentioned, hey, your relationship is going to change. And he said, there's no way. We go out as couples every week for dinner. And, a year later, he comes back and we're talking about way he landed financially, all that kind of thing. And he said, you were also right on the relationship side. We haven't gone out to eat one time. We haven't even seen that couple. And so just having been through it, we can kind of give them a heads up, and then you're not surprised by that or hurt by, I'm sure hurt is on that wheel somewhere. You're not hurt by that when it happens, right?
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who, after he sold his business, he was really, he had a hard time with the relational side with his employees, and he just said, "Man, is it always like this that employees are upset?" And I'm like, well, not always, but it probably will happen, right? I mean, it happens a lot, right? And so you just learning how to handle those emotions, because things like that are going to happen. We do talk a lot about preparing for an exit and practical things you can do in your business that will help you and your business get ready, build value, through just prior to some sort of transition. But we rarely, well, I can't say rarely. We don't talk openly. We may talk personally with the business owner, but we don't talk openly a lot about the emotional preparation side of things. And so what things, if anything, can a business owner do to emotionally prepare for selling their business?
Yeah, one of the first questions we ask people that come sit down at our table is, why are you selling? I think the emotions are different for somebody that is just wanting to retire. We always joke about, the wisdom of the guys on the 19th hole, because they keep on bragging on retirement and they're bored to tears. Dave and I, when we sold our business, we always had somewhere to go. We had eyes on the next thing, right? And so one of the things we counsel people is don't have your eyes on the next thing, because you need to be focused on being on top of things at your company until you do sell. But we had places to go. And so retirement is one of those places to go, but it's a new job. And so we help people understand, what that means. But I think the biggest thing that we come across is that, and people don't want to talk about this, people's businesses, because of the long season that they've owned and run their business and built their business, it becomes who they are. Fortunately, that's never been the case for Dave and I, but your identity, when that goes away, and I would say men probably have a bigger problem with this than women. It's who we are. We are that guy. And so when that platform of identity disappears, a lot of men struggle with, who am I? What am I really contributing? And so I would say one of the great ways to prepare ahead of time is to know where you're headed and to know what you're going to do next. Dave and I talk about, there's a lot that's said about philanthropy, like, you're going to give money because you're loaded now, you can give money away. But really, you have this other resource that's so important, and that is time. And so are you going to go and mentor young people? Are you going to use your time for the greater good, right? Do you have a place to go? Are you going to go start another business or invest in another business that will yield both opportunity as well as a place to park until your next thing. And so I just think having that discussion and being really clear helps us anticipate also how to guide our clients on anticipating what that looks like, because a lot of guys they land after the sale and there's not much left in the tank.
No, it's not pretty. It's interesting. When people leave a career, like military is really huge in this. My dad was career Air Force pilot, and there was a statistic out there that when people retired from military, because they could retire after 20, 25 years, right? So when they would retire from the military, oftentimes they would have heart attacks and just die. Early ages. And a lot of that's because there wasn't that planning. They didn't have anything to look forward to. I guess maybe sat around too much or whatever. But I think that I think one of the points you brought up earlier, Grant, as we're kind of preparing for this, was that having these really good friends around you who are willing to ask the good questions and the honest questions is super important, both before and after a sale, to keep you centered on what's best for you next. But to have a plan going forward is good. Grant, we've always had it. We always know what our next thing was going to be. And now we're reaching the age where it's like, what is that next thing? And, it's an interesting place to be.
The font of that word next becomes smaller and smaller. I think, yeah. And again, we know that being an entrepreneur is actually a lonely occupation. It really is, because you're terminally unique. You face problems that are unique. You kind of just sit there and gather as much information as possible, and you make decisions basically almost in isolation, if we're honest. And so this particular, when you start talking about retirement and start talking about, selling your business because you want to go do something else, you don't really have a whole lot of people around you who you can have that conversation with. And honestly, our firm is so open. In fact, we bait that conversation because we know that it helps the owner make the decision to really go through with it. Otherwise, you get the decision. We've all faced clients that are, yes, I want to sell. No, I don't want to sell. Yes, I want to sell. No, I don't want to sell. And they go back and forth. And we try to mitigate that by having those conversations that we would hope that you have friends around you that can have those conversations, but most entrepreneurs do not.
Yeah. And I think, it's kind of interesting seeing the emotions come up before and after a deal. I know we've also kind of labeled in the past that emotions are a big deal killer a lot of times, right? And so during a deal, we've really got only a couple minutes, so I just want to ask this one question: How can emotions positively or negatively affect a deal?
Well, first of all, by the time you get to the end of a deal, we always talk about deal fatigue. And deal fatigue is a real thing for all sides, but buyers, sellers, attorneys, intermediaries. You get to the end and it's just, and what you need is just one more thing to come up and put a hitch in everything. And it almost invariably happens. We had something happen yesterday on this deal. It's supposed to close this week. And it's just, you just have to deal with it at that point. Everyone's just got to buckle down. But the tempers start going up a little bit. And, and for the seller of the business, or for the buyer for that matter, it just adds another layer of that angst and stress will, give our bodies fatigue to begin with. And it turns into anger easily for a lot of people. And seems like there's this never ending list of things to do in due diligence. And, you're already, emotionally separating from employees. You're kind of trying to start thinking through that. What does that look like? How do you have that train? There's just a lot that goes on. And so I think, but again, preparing yourself for that, being ready for it, and then embracing those, Grant, you're going to love me for this, but really embracing those emotions as they come along, and just like, this is what they are, and dealing with them, and acknowledging them, and then do what you can to get through it. And again, I think that's where good solid counsel from attorneys and intermediaries is just really important. They ought not to be adding to the stress. They ought to be taking away some of that stress.
Yeah. To avoid so that you don't overreact. I mean, that's really what happens towards the end of the deal. You overreact because you're just full of it, right? You're just done.
Yeah. Grant, remember that time where we were selling one of our bigger businesses we sold, and the employees kind of found out through the back door that we were selling. It was disclosed.
When the phone company shows up and tries to put in a phone system before you're selling.
And they're going, well, we were told by so-and-so, who was one of our competitors. And the employees are putting two and two together, calling everybody. And, even that, you got a choice to make, right? Do you lie or do you just own it? And, but that caused a little bit of stress, I'd say.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks to everyone listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Integrated Insights.
And that wraps up another episode of Integrated Insights with ICCG. Be sure to subscribe and stay tuned for more stories from our team. We love hearing from our listeners. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please send us an email in the show notes. For more information about ICCG, please check us out on our website or follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube. Until next time, there's always a seat at our table.